Jeff, let's start on that coronavirus. You invest in a lot of different companies. You sit on the board of many of them. What are you thinking? What are your worries about coronavirus?
Yeah, Ed, thanks for having me here. It's nice to be here. Look, it's hard to know what to do with coronavirus. It's something that is uncomfortable, to say the least, both personally and professionally. We don't know where it's going to go. It's obviously highly contagious. So it's about being prepared. So as it relates to being an investor and thinking about the economy, we have to think about both sides. So we have to think about the demand side, meaning what's going to happen with consumers, how are the buying habits going to change, what's going to happen for companies. And again, we invest in companies and we're also on the boards of companies and we work inside companies. So how do things change in terms of buying habits? But just as importantly, or maybe potentially more importantly, we have to focus on the supply chain. And this is something that's come to light more recently as we've had this issue with China, and Chinese factories are now coming back online. I think you guys have been reporting about that, but they did take several weeks off for the Chinese New Year, and as they've come back online, they're coming back online at different levels of capacity, and no one really knows how fast they're coming back online. Nobody really knows how fast those workers are going to come back, and people don't really know what's going to happen throughout the system as it relates to supply chain for these companies. And then, we of course don't know what's going to happen across this country as this clearly, again, highly contagious, as it spreads across the country, what happens to the workforce and the different levels of work if people do get sick. Hopefully it doesn't.
Of course.
Yeah, again, and on the demand side, but hopefully it doesn't get that bad, but it certainly seems like it's highly contagious.
Does it also conversely create an opportunity? And by that I mean, as a type of investor that focuses on crisis and to some extent sort of confects crises to affect change, do you look at something like this and say, well, it's a good preview to see which management teams, which boards are able to cope in a crisis and which aren't?
Yes. Look, I don't want to seem opportunistic because the first thing we care about is the health and well-being of the employees around the country and the people around the country. But yes, the volatility in the marketplace is a good opportunity for us. At Starboard, we're extremely well positioned. We carry a lot of cash. We are hedged. We withstand volatility very well and have a more diversified portfolio where we care about the sustainability and stability of our company. So we're well positioned to be able to make new investments and are making new investments during this period of time. But in analyzing that, it's a different analysis. It's a very different analysis to try and understand which of these companies, which are dislocating with the market or different from the market, are ones where you think they're going to be able to succeed through a potential crisis. And then to your point, Ed, CEO and CEO's ability are very different. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a CEO of a well-known company, and he said to me, look, I was having a conversation with another friend of mine, and we were thankful that we are not new CEOs. So experience matters, capability matters, and managing through a crisis is hard.
A friend of yours, so presumably not a company you're going to go active on. One that you have been active on and remain sort of at least around is eBay. You settled with them a year ago. Just last month, though, you wrote a letter sort of berating them for not having done their strategic review fast enough, not having exited classifieds fast enough. What do you need to see happen there to be satisfied?
Yeah, look, eBay is a great business. This is one of these terrific businesses that should be able to handle this type of situation really well. It's a true internet business and a marketplace. They did sell off StubHub, which was one of the things that we were asking them to do, but we would like them to go further. So we would like them to sell off classifieds, and importantly, on the operational side, we need them to perform better operationally. So there's more that needs to be done, and it needs to be done faster with more focus, and we care. There's also a CEO search process going on right now at eBay, and we care. We expect them to hire a best-of-breed CEO at the company. We believe eBay, the company, deserves, just like we were talking about before, talent level and skill level of the CEO is incredibly important. eBay deserves a best-in-breed CEO, and we believe that eBay can attract a best-in-breed CEO.
Why not ask for more board seats?
We might.
Is that something that you're working on currently?
We have conversations with the company, frequently, and it would be around this time of year where it would make sense to talk about board representation. But that's not always the answer. It may be the answer in this case, but it's not always the answer. In every company that we look at, it's not about the board to start with. The board is a tool of governance for us to oversee a company. The company has a board, but the board is overseeing management. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is the CEO and the strategy, and the board has to oversee that. So when you hear us talk about how companies can improve themselves and how they can perform better and how they can create value for the benefit of all stakeholders, including shareholders, the CEO is incredibly important. And when we talk about it, we're going to talk about that, or we're going to talk about the plan as it relates to what could be done differently at the company. As it relates to eBay, yeah, we can have a conversation about the board, but right now the most important decision they have to make is to bring in a new CEO that's going to be a superstar CEO.
All right, switching to a company that isn't a Starboard target, Twitter obviously broke the news last week about Elliott taking a position there. Unclear exactly what they want, but at least moving Jack Dorsey around seems to be part of that. It'd be great to get your sort of objective, albeit very informed, wisdom on the topic.
Yeah, look, it's hard to talk about somebody else's position. Twitter is a position that we've looked at for quite some time. We have a lot of respect for Elliott. The governance structure at Twitter, having a CEO that's a CEO of two different companies, is highly, highly, highly unusual. Is Jack Dorsey special enough to be that highly unusual CEO? He might be. So I think he might not be. I think and I don't know the answer to that. I'm not inside the company. So I think it's going to be a discussion between or among Jack and the board, as well as Elliott and maybe even the shareholders, to determine whether there's a better construct to manage that company, and if it's really important to be able to keep Jack as a visionary involved in the business. And I have potential predictions as to how that could play out, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to share those.
You said you looked at the company. Just very quickly, in a word, is it a better company with Jack Dorsey or without?
Again, I'm not sure I can answer that, and it depends in what capacity. I don't think it's fair for me to answer that. I do believe that Jack is a visionary. I do believe he's a unique leader, but I don't actually know how involved he is in what he's doing day to day at the company, and can't say what the right outcome is.